Renovating Retirement with Charlie Jewett. Oh no, I think I'm about to have another episode.
I just can't believe it. Tony Robbins is killing me. His book is too big. I've been trying to read this big book, Money Master the Game. I'm so glad I didn't print it or buy a hard copy because it would probably break the foundation of my home. I can't take it anymore. It's been 3.5 months. 3.5 months. Can't you believe it? 3.5 months since I did step 3 for Tony Robbins 7 steps to financial freedom. I've been stuck. Step number 4 was like 500 to 600 pages and I've been completely stuck. But you know what, my friends? Do you know what? If I could encourage you for a moment, stuck happens. It does. I got stuck because stuck happens. And if you want to be unstuck, you have to unstuck yourself, which is what I'm doing because stuck happened to me and I was stuck and I'm trying to unstuck myself today with this episode. So this episode today, 165, is dedicated to all the people who are stuck, all the stuck people, my fellow stuckers. If you feel stuck and you need to be unstuck, just listen to what I'm doing today. I'm trying to unstuck myself because stuck happens. So welcome to episode 165, Stuck Happens.
Myrtle, you gotta come listen to this guy. He's so weird, but what he says kind of makes sense.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 165 of the Renovating Retirement Podcast. Stuck Happens, the long-awaited step 4 of the Tony Robbins 7 steps to financial freedom. This step 4 has almost killed me. I've got people reaching out, asking, when are you going to release it? Shout out to Emily. Hey girl, love you, Emily. This is dedicated to you, Emily. It's your show. I finally am going to get step 4 out, and it's not because I've mastered the 500 to 600 pages that Tony Robbins dedicates to step number 4, but it's because I'm throwing in the white flag. I'm throwing the towel in. I'm waving the white flag. I surrender, Tony. You win. You win. You can outright my ability to pay attention. It's amazing. I think the issue is, like, here's what's going on. This will probably be the most disorganized, fragmented, spastic episode that I've ever done because, one, it's really hard to take 500 or 600 pages and condense them into 20 or 30 minutes or however long I talk because I'm kind of long-winded. You know what I'm talking about? But I've realized the problem I have with step number 4 is it's basically 100% about something I don't really promote. I don't really agree with at this time. It's not that I don't agree with it for super rich people. I just don't agree with it for the regular folks that listen to my podcast. That's because it's on something called asset allocation. Like, if you're going to use securities, how much should you put in each one of the places that you might make money or might lose money? My issue with that, and I don't have an issue with Tony Robbins. I don't have an issue with the company he works for as the chief psychology officer. I don't even really have an issue with what Ray Dalio's doing and who else did he interview? A bunch of people that aren't coming to mind right now. All the people he interviewed in the book that are crushing it with asset allocation, I really don't have an issue with any of them. But they're not available to you. Like, yes, you can get the all-weather portfolio. However, when I look at the returns from the all-weather portfolio, they look super similar or lower than the tax-free returns for what he talks about in the next chapter, or step number 5, which is, well, actually not step number 5. It's actually step number 6 or 7. But Tony Robbins eventually gets into indexed products where you can't lose any money at all and you make some of the upside. So none of the losses, some of the upside, no fees or low fees, from my research is beating the asset allocation that's actually available to you, the normal consumer. If you're ultra wealthy, you have $100 million and you get one of these gurus to do it for you, that might be a different story. But I needed to unstuck myself, y'all. I needed to get unstuck. 3.5 months is too long. It's been 3.5 months since I did step number 3. I already have another whole series called, what the heck did I call it? Keeping your money. So if you look at the beginning of my podcast, or in the middle somewhere, there's a series called Keeping Your Money on a book that I was trying to write at the time, and I never finished that series. I did not want to leave another series hanging. One is enough for any podcast. That's the rules. Didn't want to do it. I want to finish these 7 steps. Plus, Emily was on my back. Thank you, Emily. Love ya. So, we're going to do it. I'm going to fumble through it. In Charlie Jewett fashion, I'm going to give you my thoughts on as many of the 600 pages in this section that I could read, listen to in my car, reread, re-listen to in my car for 3.5 months. By the way, for those of you that have been through a horribly traumatic, high conflict, talk about taking a lot of time, creating a lot of confusion, and being a difficult thing to go through. I sympathize with you. I hope you sympathize with me. I'm almost 3 years into trying to get through what should have been a very simple divorce and has been complicated in ways that I could have never made up, even if I wrote scripts for movies or reality TV where we try to create drama. Never saw any of what's happened to me coming. And all of the children in my life are basically teenagers at the same time. There's 6 of them between me and my girlfriend, and yes, one of them's 25 or whatever, so we don't have a whole lot of interaction there, but 5 teenagers? Wow. So if you relate, you can give me a shout out, write me a note, info@l5wealth.com, info@l the letter 5 the number wealth.com. Just send me something encouraging. Say, hey brother, hang in there. Hey buddy, I went through that too, and 12 years later they kiss. Whatever it takes. Just send some encouragement because I need it, brothers and sisters. Anyway, let's jump into this. Step number 4. Tony Robbins defines step number 4 of his 7 steps to financial freedom as make the most important investment decision of your life. Okay? Here's what I found on the internet. Step 4 answers the obvious question that's probably burning in your mind. Where do I put my money? What specific investments will maximize my upside and protect me against the downside? That's a great question. Where do I put my money? Awesome question. It is the financial planning or retirement planning question, right? And what specific, I have a problem with this next term, investments, because it could be what specific tools, what specific products, what specific places or strategies. I don't want to limit it to just investments or securities and have all of your eggs in one basket, but you've got a duck egg, a quail egg, a chicken egg, and a platypus egg, and it feels like I'm diversified, but when that carton of eggs falls off the counter, if you go to watchcharlie.com, you can actually see me push a whole carton of eggs off the counter in my kitchen in my past house. They're all going to break. I don't care if it's the ostrich egg, the platypus egg, the quail egg, the dove egg. It doesn't matter. Do doves lay eggs? Pretty sure they do. I come from a family of bird watchers and nature people. So Uncle Bob and John, I'm sorry if I got that wrong. I don't know if Doug does not lay eggs. I can promise you that anybody named Doug doesn't lay an egg unless there's been some sort of a transformation. But I'm sure... No, I'm not sure if learn to speak. Doves, I don't know if doves lay eggs, but I believe that they do. Any eggs falling off a counter are going to break, so you do not want to limit yourself to just, quote, investments or securities. But what specific investments will maximize my upside and protect me against the downside? Wonderful question. Warren Buffett's number 1 rule of investing is don't lose money. Hello. So protecting against the downside is kind of black belt investment thinking, wouldn't we say? That's the highest level investment thinking you could ever possibly get, is how do I never lose any money or minimize my losses or benefit from the losses when the market goes down? It's time to make the most important investment decision of your life. It's time to learn the power of asset allocation. Okay, asset allocation for the layman, right, It means dividing up your money among different classes or types of investments, such as stocks, bonds, commodities, or real estate. That list is a little thin for me, but dividing up your money among different classes or types of investments, and in a specific proportions that you decide in advance, according to your goals and needs, risk tolerance, and your stage of life. So let's talk about this in the traditional sense, right? Because everything's changed in the last 19 years, so all of the traditional knowledge out there, the pundits that still teach the same crap from 40, 50, 60 years ago, like, drive me absolutely bonkers. Not a single one of them will even agree to debate me, no matter how many times I ask them, which I think is ridiculous. If you have a following, like 700 million times more people listen to you than listen to me, you're like the total stud guru of financial services, or you're on Forbes magazine saying some kind of baloney, and somebody shows up, just some little punk like me shows up, and they're like,
Hey man, I think you're wrong.
like a little mosquito in the air.
I think you're wrong. You're a liar. You're a piece of crap.
Right?
I want to debate you.
Michael Jordan being challenged by a child that could barely walk to a game of one-on-one, knows he's going to win. Maybe he doesn't want to embarrass the child, but if the child pushed hard enough and paid him enough money, he'd be like, all right, fine, I'll just dunk all over you, step on top of you, and right? Why wouldn't these so-called gurus that are ridiculously famous, I mean, I haven't been on Oprah. It's not even around anymore, so I can't do it, but I certainly wasn't on Oprah when she was doing it. These guys have. I'm not on Forbes magazine every month. Some of these other jackwads are that are lying. Why wouldn't they accept my challenge to debate me, knowing that they're going to squash me like a child? Challenging Michael Jordan. Why wouldn't they just squash me publicly to show how right they are? And the fact that they won't debate me, you begin to see what's going on in the financial services industry. If you go listen to the early episodes of Renovating Retirement, you're going to hear me with a lot of passion saying this industry doesn't just need a remodel, it needs a renovation. This is a knockdown, tear down, mold and rat infested, disgusting, horrible tear down of an industry that needs to be completely destroyed and rebuilt with integrity, all the way down to the foundation, which is cracked, full of maggots and mold. And the maggots and mold are the advisors I just mentioned to you. What you're going to learn about the industry from the fact that nobody will debate me when they should just flick me like a fly or step on me like a child challenging to do a basketball game. And by the way, I don't encourage stepping on children. Please don't take this the wrong way. It's kind of a basketball analogy. I was trying to figure out what's the weakest opponent against Michael Jordan. Maybe the weakest opponent is a snake because they don't have arms. I should have used a snake, but I used a child. God forgive me. Why don't they just squash me publicly? Here's the answer. They know they're wrong. The loudest voices in the retirement planning industry, Edward Morgan Lynch, the famous authors, the ones that were on Oprah, the one that writes for Forbes every single month, lying through his teeth like a complete scam artist, all of them know they're wrong. Like, they're not having a problem with ignorance. They are having a problem with immorality. I tell you all the time, I don't care if your current advisor messed up your plan based on ignorance or immorality. Are they lacking knowledge or are they ripping you off? I don't really care. Let's just make your plan better and give you the best retirement possible. It doesn't matter why they did a bad job or a marginal job or a good job or a great job. You deserve a perfect job. You deserve an amazing job. It doesn't matter if it was ignorance or immorality with the single financial advisor you're working with. The ones that are preaching, writing books on TV and on Forbes, always immorality. They know they're wrong. They've got plenty of people in their life confronting them, showing them when they're lying. And they will not change because it's so profitable to be a liar in this industry and to be a scam artist instead of tell the truth. So why won't they just squash me and debate me? Because they know that I would embarrass them and make them look like the absolute demonic fools that they are, and they don't want that. So they just don't return the phone calls. Very interesting, isn't that? Very interesting that a little nobody like me could scare these people so much. It's very intriguing. In this section, Tony Robbins goes into 3 buckets that you really should have as you're dividing your assets up into what he calls asset allocation. The security bucket, the risk/growth bucket, so it's basically just growth, accumulation, and then sort of unique to Tony Robbins is a dream bucket, which we'll talk about. I liked it. I like what he wrote about the dream bucket. I thought it was awesome. I like almost everything Tony Robbins writes, by the way. When asset allocation doesn't pay as much as safer things, I want you to do the safer things. Very respectful. And by the way, it's not even disagreeing with Tony Robbins, because Tony Robbins teaches indexed annuities and indexed universal life insurance, or what's called the rich man's Roth IRA. So if you really look at what I'm teaching and what Tony Robbins is teaching and you want to blend them together, it's like, okay, we'll set up your in-case accounts, set up your income accounts, and then if you have money left over and you want to do an increase account, let's do it considering all the different options, including asset allocation, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, or tax-free retirement, rich man's Roth IRA, like life insurance, which he teaches. And I love that about Tony Robbins, because the only thing to ever discover is the truth, and honest people all find the same thing. And he found exactly what I found: indexed annuities, indexed universal life insurance, no losses, some of the gains, and it actually beats the stock market in most time frames.
The compliance guys, don't choke on your fettuccine. It's gonna be all right, Poindexter.
Sorry, guys. I said most time frames, and the compliance guys just had an asthma attack. When I say most time frames, I mean most time frames that include the last 19 years, the only time in human history or market history that actually matters for people doing their retirement plans today. If you were retiring in 1940, all right, it would be different. If you were retiring in 1970, all right, it would be different. If you're retiring in 1999, good luck. Yes, if you're an immoral joker broker or money manager, you can go back and by cherry picking the years, you could go, 1972 to 1997, the market would have beaten indexed universal life, and I'm a genius. No, you're not. You're just stupid and immoral. If you include the last 19 years, the only 19 years that really matter, because who gives a crap about the weather from the 1980s or traffic reports from 1998? Nobody cares what the market did. The 210-year average of the market is 7.1. Oh, let's go back to where we didn't have electricity and see what the stock market was doing and pretend that it has some sort of relevance to today. Really? 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 They do it. Joker brokers and money managers take you back to times where there was no electricity or cars and say, well, yeah, the market always goes up over a 10-year period until that one time it didn't, but let's not focus on that because I want to play golf while I rip you off. But yeah, it's just like always good. It's always good. It's always good. Oh, yeah, well, what about annuities and life insurance? Nah, don't do that. That's from the devil. Annuities have really high fees. Most have no fees, dummy. Yeah, life insurance, the costs are too high. You can't grow your money. Yeah, if you suck at designing it, your client's not going to grow any money. But hello, Do musicians make good money? Try to answer that question. Do musicians make good money? You can't answer the question without asking another question. Which musicians? You can't know anything about life insurance, annuities, land banking. You can't know anything until you ask, which annuity? I mean, the number one mind in the country on building tax-free retirement plans says there might be 3 or 4 annuities that are worth owning right now. And if you have one of the 3 or 4, they're rock star, Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, rock star quality. Higher performance than the stock market over the last 19 years. Easy peasy. Well, 3 or 4 out of how many? 1,000? 2,000? I don't know. I don't know how many annuities there are, right? Because I don't tend to study the crappy ones. Find out what's best. Study it. Give your clients the absolute best one offered in their state for their age group and their goals. That's easy. But yeah, most musicians don't make money. Taylor Swift does. Most musicians don't make money. Billy Joel does. Most musicians don't make money. I'm guessing Drake's pulling in a little bit more money than I am, brah, because somehow he just beat the Beatles records, and I'm pretty sure it's profitable to beat the Beatles. Which musician? Which annuity? Which life insurance contract? Anyway, I'm going to get off that pedestal and come back. So, 3 buckets: security, risk, growth. Well, that sounds like 3 right there. Security, and then risk/growth. That's a bucket. And then the dream bucket, right? So let's talk about the security bucket. What Tony Robbins teaches, and I told you this would probably be the most like spastic, ridiculous, worst done podcast I've ever done, because I can't do a Cliff Notes on 600 pages, but I want to get unstuck because I've been stuck, baby. I want to get unstuck. Stuck happens and I don't want to be stuck anymore. In his security bucket section, he talks about 8 possible investments in this category. So secure money that you're not going to lose. Cash and cash equivalents, bonds, CDs, your home, your pension, annuities, love that, term life insurance, and properly structured cash value life insurance. Thank you so much, Tony Robbins, for being a man of integrity who uses the English language properly instead of the scam artist pundits that go on Oprah and Forbes and leave out the words that you'd need, like properly structured, and throw the baby out with the bathwater and give terrible advice. So thank you, Tony Robbins, for being a man of integrity. Over 22 years, I've always found him to be that. And then structured notes, which is basically lending money to banks. Well, that's an interesting concept. So cash, cash equivalents, bonds, CDs, your home, your pension, annuities, term life insurance, and structured notes. If you want to dig into each and every one of those, which is probably unnecessary, but if you want to, you can read this section of the book. The book's called Money, Master the Game with Tony Robbins. Now, in the risk and growth bucket, he talks about, and by the way, let me go back to security bucket for a second, because I talk about in case income increase. Security comes from having 3 types of money: your emergency fund, your in case account, your paycheck. There's no more security in the world than getting a paycheck every month, which is exactly what you need. Even if you don't have an emergency fund, if $10,000 showed up every single month on the first of the month, you can find a way to survive and how to pay for your new car, how to pay for your washing machine, or tell a friend or a credit card company, I'm going to borrow from you and pay you back on the first of the month when 10,000 fresh dollars come in. If you have a money tree, you're good. You have the security. The happiest people on the planet that I know are people that have pensions. Pension income coming in like clockwork, no matter what happens in the market. Social Security, which is a form of a pension, coming in like clockwork. By the way, both of those are annuities. You guys can bash annuities as much as you want to, or listen to the absolute scam artist, demonic liars on Forbes who say that annuities are bad and you should hate them too. And in reality, everybody that owns the right type of annuity loves it and wishes everything in the world worked like that. It's a money tree. No matter what happens in the world, you get paid. Oh, man, I hate that, and you should too. I hate getting paid, and you should too, because I'm stupid. I hate guaranteed income, and you should too, because I'm stupid. Can you guys hear? I'm not a fan of jackwads that lie on Forbes magazine. Can you hear that? Is the message coming through that I hate liars? If you go to my Instagram, charliespictures.com, you're going to see a stop sign that says, I hate liars. And liars are pretty easy to find because they're like, 2 + 2 is 5, and I want you to follow me. And you go, you're dumb. It's not 5. You're dumb. Sorry, I'm edgy today. My bad. Let's go to risk and growth. Here's what Tony says. When I interviewed Jack Bogle for this book, Jack Bogle started Vanguard. If you don't know who Jack Bogle is, he's like a total stud. Started Vanguard. He repeated one of his mantras, quote, markets always revert to the mean. That means what goes up is going to come down, and vice versa. And I'm sure Ray Dalio got your attention when he said that whatever your favorite investment might be, at some point in your life, your favorite investment, you can count on it dropping by 50 to 70% in value. One of the greatest minds of all time with the greatest results, Ray Dalio, says whatever your favorite investment is, at some point in your life, you can count on it dropping from 50 to 70% in value. So should you put all of your eggs in one basket? Never. Should you let your immoral joker broker or your ignorant joker broker put all of your eggs in the only basket they're even allowed to sell? If they tell you about the better baskets, they lose their job. Edward Morgan Lynch, anybody that works at one of those firms where they get paid to spread you around securities and give you a pie chart with colors on it. They got a little bit of large cap stocks, a little bit of international, a little bit of bonds, a little bit of tips, a little bit of cash, a little bit of this. All I'm going to sell you is the crap I'm allowed to sell without losing my job. I'm going to put all your eggs in one basket, just a different types of eggs. Do you realize if you let some ignorant or immoral joker broker convince you to only use securities and call that that basket full of different eggs a, quote, diversified portfolio, at some point in your life you can expect to lose 50 to 70% in value? And you don't know this. You don't know this till you work with my team. If we ran what's called a correlation report, which is a really geeky way of saying whatever your guy spread you around in, whatever your girl spread you all across to confuse you, historically, do they go up and down together, or are they truly diversified? When one goes up, the other one goes down and protects you and keeps your... Why did people lose 40 to 50% in 2008, 2009? Because they're not diversified. It's a big freaking scam. If we ran a correlation report for you on your, quote, diversified portfolio, you'd find what everybody finds. All your stuff goes up and down together. Historically, the past crashes, you're not diversified. It's a confusion tactic. Because if your advisor stuck you in the S&P 500, they put 100% of your money in the Vanguard S&P 500 fund and got better performance than they're getting for you now, eventually you'd go, why am I paying you? I could buy this straight from Vanguard without the 1% management fee or the 0.5% management fee. They have to spread you around to hide the fact that they suck. They have to spread you around to hide the fact that they're actually not worth any of the money you're paying them, and they're doing nothing for you while they play golf. It's a complete and total sham. Do you think I started the podcast because I was bored? I started the podcast Because the more I learned about the retirement planning industry, the more I learned the entire thing is a shell game. It's a complete sham. Nobody should be in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds with some joker broker underperforming the S&P 500 yet. 1,000 financial plans plus into it. Basically, every single human being on the earth who's ever come to me is in, guess what? Dun, da, da, da. Stocks, bonds, and mutual funds spread around a bunch of confusing crap that all goes up and down together and performs worse than if you just bought the S&P 500 without the golf playing advisor who's charging you the unnecessary 0.5% to 1.5%. Booyah! Fire that fool. Fire that fool. Vote with your money. Send your advisor packing. Get in touch. Info at l5wealth.com. info at l the letter 5 the number wealth the word.com, because you don't need an advisor. You're a genius when you see clearly. Would you really like to be blindfolded while you drive and have somebody in the passenger seat telling you what to do? Turn left. Stop. Old lady. Cat. Red light. You really want that. You really want to take advice. Or would you like to kick that stupid advisor out of the car, take off the blindfold, hello, look through the windshield, and be an amazing driver, the amazing driver you already are? You're a genius when you see clearly. You don't need an advisor. You need clarity. In all the Edward Morgan Lynches of the world, and every other smaller version without the name brand, without the 12,000 offices where they rip people off every day, every other version of that, I'm going to stick you in stocks and hope for the best and charge you a fee, every version of that is them saying, you're too stupid to see clearly, let me tell you what to do. And you don't need that. All you need is, they get paid to hide stuff from you. Period. And I can prove it. They get paid to not tell you what's best for you and peddle their wares, whatever their boss wants them to sell, and force you to buy stuff that hurts you. They get paid to hurt people for a living. And there's not a single soul in the country that'll even attempt to debate me on TV because they know I'm right. Fools. Tony Robbins goes into risk growth bucket, right? Equities, high yield bonds, which are called junk bonds, real estate, commodities, which is like gold, silver, oil, coffee, cotton, so on, currencies, collectibles, art, wine, coins, automobiles, antiques, to name a few. I had a friend that bought baseball cards on eBay and sold them for more when people were selling them for less than they're worth because he knows that collectible industry. That's fine. Structured notes. Wait a minute. I heard structured notes was in the secure bucket. How's it in a growth bucket? Well, there's different types. Some structured notes have guarantees and some don't. Well, I just want you to hear this list. Equities, high yield bonds, real estate, commodities, currencies, collectibles, structured notes. That's supposed to be growth. Equities, risk. High yield bonds, risk. Real estate, risk. Commodities, risk. Currencies, risk. Holy crap. Do I know that's risk? I traded currencies from midnight to 8 a.m. for 2.5 years here in California. Made $32,000 one night, lost $36,000 the next night. Yeah. Risk, baby. Collectibles. Structured notes. That's the growth list. Well, hold on. Let me go back to the securities list. Security bucket. Cash, bonds, CDs, your home, your pension, annuities, and term life insurance, and structured notes. Wait, what was number 6 and 7? Annuities and term life insurance. Any of you can challenge me on this. But when I look at annuities and life insurance, they're earning more rate of return than everything on the growth list here, unless you strike it amazingly rich in real estate, or you know how to day trade commodities or currencies, or you have the expertise in baseball cards. But the normal human being trying to build a growth portfolio out of equities and bonds and real estate and commodities aren't even going to come anywhere close to as much as they'd make in the safer security alternatives of annuities and life insurance. Can you see why I didn't really enjoy this section and said I'm going to do whatever, the most sporadic, crazy podcast I've ever done, just all over the place, no structure? I don't get it. Asset allocation is for people that believe more risk, more reward, And that hasn't been true for 2 decades. Decades, people. That's most of your life. I'm 47. 2 decades is almost 50% of my entire life. It's certainly 50% of the life where I've been an adult and paying attention and even knew what money was or cared. If you're in your 60s, it's a third of your life. For a third of your life, the most recent third, like the right now, more risk does not give you more reward, meaning if you are safer and more conservative, you get more handsomely rewarded, you earn more money than if you take risk. I don't have a need for any of these in my life. Any of these so-called growth categories, I have no need for them. So here's my recommendation. I would only use these for having fun, for gambling. I mean, sometimes we go to the casino, my girlfriend and I, play some blackjack, play some slots, not much money. Walk in with, here's the amount we're willing to play with. Play, have a free drink or two, win or lose, go home. Was I there because casinos are an amazing investment? Hello, no. Do I own a car because cars are amazing investments? Hello, no. Do I buy food because it's an amazing investment? Extreme hard pass? No. You eat it once and it's completely gone. That's a terrible investment. But casinos and concerts and cars and food make life awesome, which is actually what money's for. Even though I run a retirement planning podcast, money's actually not for growing, compounding. If you lived like that, you would never spend $1 on anything. If you looked at how much it costs you to spend $5 at Starbucks, which, by the way, there's entire books written on this, which I think are shameful. But if you spend $5 at Starbucks, how much it costs you when you're 66? Oh, I was looking for another recipe for depression. I didn't have enough already. Well, thank you for giving me another one. Every day now I can feel like a loser because when I buy a Starbucks, it costs me $40,000 when I'm 66. That is not the way we live. It's not the right way to live. It's not a peaceful way to live. If you want to invest in these risky things, do it for the fun of it. Do it for gambling, which is what it really is, for heaven's sakes. Get so frustrated. Now, here's on my notes. I said, why don't I talk much about asset allocation as much as other investment? Why don't I talk as much about asset allocation as other investment advisors? Well, one, my audience is individual investors. Okay, the people listening to this podcast are not like the guy's running the trust fund for Yale University, whatever. The guy running Vanguard's mutual fund, maybe he's listening, hey buddy, but not normally. It's just regular people like me. Well, Tony writes in his book, most experts agree. Those are 3 powerful words. Most experts agree. The ultimate diversification tool for individual investors, hello, my entire audience, all of you, the ultimate diversification tool for most individual investors is the low-fee index fund, which gives you the broadest exposure to the largest numbers of securities for the lowest cost. I'm going to stop right there. Tony Robbins, who's anal and does way more research than I would ever even be willing to do, has access to people I'd never be able to get to talk to, interviewed 50 of them, and wrote a book bigger than I would ever even dream of writing. I could barely even read the thing. Tony Robbins, light years ahead of me, basically just said every expert he's interviewed agreed you shouldn't be using a money manager if you're an individual investor. And if you're going to play this gambling game, risk versus reward, the only really way to play it is buy an index fund. So go to Vanguard, go to whatever, and buy their S&P 500 fund because it's already diversified. It spreads you around 500 things. He continues, the best way to diversify is to own the index because you don't have to pay all the fees. And you get tax efficiency. So guys, unless you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, asset allocation, it doesn't even matter. You're not even allowed to work with the best people in the country. I mean, the best asset allocators in the country might make you 12, 15, 20% on your money, but if you don't have hundreds of millions of dollars, they're not even going to pay attention to you. So for the regular person, that's why I've struggled so much with this chapter, you don't need it. Securities are unnecessary and make less money than the safer products that he gets into in the next 2 or 3 chapters. So I'm more excited about those, but I need to get unstuck because I was stuck and I don't want to be stuck because stuck happens. In my opinion, this chapter is only useful after you've set up your in-case account and your income accounts, which we're going to talk about. He actually gets into this in the next chapter. If you have income for life sufficient to live the life of your dreams, and you have money left over you don't know what to do with, dude, go nuts. Spread it around through all the stuff he talks about in this chapter. Buy everything. Now you're diversified. But how do you know? Here's a really important question for you. How do you know if you personally, not your neighbor, how do you know if you have too much money in risk growth investments? How do you know if you have too much money in these securities or things that can go up and down? Very, very easy one-word answer. Are you ready for it? If you're driving, you don't have to stop. You don't have to write it down. If you're sitting and listening to this, you can write it down. It's a one-word answer. Emotions. When the market crashes, when your tenant doesn't pay rent, when the house goes down in value, when the price of gold drops, whatever it is, wherever you're doing your gambling because people have lied to you and told you it makes more money than the safe stuff, if negative news comes in and you're affected by it, you don't feel good, you've got some depression, some anxiety, you want to go complain to your friends, 100% you've got too much money in that category. You should not care. The top money managers in the country, the top investors, when things go to crap, they get excited and they buy when there's blood in the streets because it doesn't matter to them. They've already set up their in-case and income accounts. If when your stuff goes down in value or doesn't pay the dividend or somebody doesn't pay rent or doesn't appreciate or whatever you want to say, the business doesn't give you the profits, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can pay my bills, what's going to happen? And you're feeling turmoil, 100% blaring, flashing on the dashboard. That means you have too much money in that category and you need to move it to safety. I hope that helps you. The last thing I want to talk about is the third bucket, which is unique to Tony Robbins, and I love it, the dream bucket. Don't just have a security bucket. Don't just have a growth bucket. Have a dream bucket. You know, I'm 47. I don't want to live my entire life for how things are going to be for me at 66. That's a little crazy, and it's way too far in the future. He says you need to have something for today. Strategic splurges. I love Tony Robbins. I love the expressions he comes up with and the sentences as he writes. Amazing teacher. Strategic splurges. Doesn't that just sound beautiful? Your dreams are not designed to give you a financial payoff. It's not about how much it makes later on. This is why I have such a problem with people saying, look how much it costs you to go to Starbucks. Every coffee costs you $40,000. Well, shut up. Every dollar I spend on diapers and gas and cable and everything costs me the same blankety blank 40 years from now. But that's not the way the world works. Your dreams aren't designed to give you a financial payoff. They're designed to give you a greater quality of life. Amen. 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 I love that. I love that. Thank you, Tony. Pastor Tony. Your quality of life is really what's important. You're only living in this moment. Who knows if you're going to even make it to 66, 70, or 80? You're not guaranteed that. What are you guaranteed? You're guaranteed that you're alive right now. All of your money can't be for the future. Have some dreams. Have some strategic splurges. Pick a portion of your income, 5 or 10%, 20%, 50%, whatever you want. Pick a portion. That's for today. It's not about financial payoff. It's for right now. My life is awesome because I have a Tesla, because I have a private jet, because I get to go to massage every, whatever it is for you. Pick your dream bucket, fund your dream bucket and your other buckets. Have an awesome life today and have an awesome life in retirement. Other than that, I don't have strong opinions. I can't even speak. I don't have any strong opinions on the subject. Robot Charlie signing off. I think you people are the best.
Renovating Retirement with Charlie Jewett.
That's all, folks.